Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome on to the stream. This is Dragon Skies once again, and we are here with some live game development, and yeah, all that good stuff. I'm going to start by going ahead and pulling up my chat stuff on the side, and then we'll just get right into it. So, today I do not have a very rock-solid plan, if I'm being honest. Not that we're not actually going to get anything done. Usually I get a ton of stuff done even when I don't have much ahead. But we've been working on a lot of a lot of good systems so far. Just I think today is really just going to be a chance to look over what we've done and fix anything that's kind of like lingering in the background. So yeah. As far as getting this all ready though, we're going to go ahead and just take a look around. So what we've been mostly doing has been in the overworld, and the overworld is a very broad way of saying all of these areas here that you can walk through and explore. Like, for example, the outside of the manor. We added a bunch of rain. We've added the doorway system. All that. We've added our dungeon room logic, which has been something that's been a long time in the making. We've added a stairwell system, which leads into new layers of the building. Of course, this is work in progress, because ideally I want it to be so just if I walk into the door, it automatically sends me into this new area. So I guess let's work on a quick fix for the doorway system, I think, because when it comes to these doorways, it's annoying to have the problem here where if I press enter multiple times, it actually triggers the scene multiple times. Hello there, Ruffian. Good to see you. Welcome to the stream. Today we're just doing some random fixes. Not that good jazz, but yeah. So what we're going to do right now is fix our doorway, which has been causing us some problems lately. What happens is if I walk in front of the door, it just does the transition immediately. Welcome the cat to the stream. Good to see you. The Ruffian. We need a custom moose emote. Honestly, I'm on it because that sounds absolutely hilarious. I think. I don't know. He's become kind of a main character during these streams. That's for sure. So, really quickly, we're going to create a private boolean. Door has been opened, and we're going to set it to false. And this is just going to make sure we can't re-trigger stuff. I'm Tammy and the moose emote. Oh my gosh. Got it. We're working on the custom moose emote. I'll ask Musical Papyrus to get right on it. But oh my gosh. That'll be awesome, actually. And not door has been opened. Alright, cool. And then we're going to set the door has been opened to true after this. Nice. But yeah, this stream is going to be very slow. So in the past few streams, I've had this thing where I've been like hyper focused on finishing some stuff. And right now, I'm like, it's not that I'm not motivated, but it's like, I have no creative vision right now. I'm just kind of going off of whatever I see in front of me. So, yeah, I don't know. This would be the kind of time where I would randomly like start playing Slay the Spire Power on my own or something like that. But nah, we gotta get a game finished, boys. I think you really liked the Moose Prophecy. Oh my gosh, bruh. No, the Moose is not the main character. There is no prophecy. The Moose is just a angry New Yorker. Nothing more. We don't need any more crazy lore drops. How? But yeah, I know. So getting back into it though, just testing our door mechanisms. Oh gosh, that needs to be fixed as well. We'll take care of that later. If we walk up into here and spam the enter button, the issue before is that it would multiple times send us into the scene and cause this weird flashing thing, but it's not happening here. He will seek revenge for that. Honestly, like some sort of a gif with the moose being like an evil villain type character could be really funny. I'm gonna be honest here. I don't know. I could pixelarify that. That has nothing with the game development. Otherwise, I would do it on stream. But then again, Then again, I don't know. Then you won't receive lawsuits. I have a really bad idea that really shouldn't be. We shouldn't be. Moose's hero. You are no. That's not the headcanon. Okay, look. There's like okay. We have the story here in the game, right? And it follows this heroic detective and his sidekick, right? These are the good guys of the game, but like we're experiencing this like side story, right? Like with me, the developer, and this Moose has been antagonizing me from day one, right? He's been constantly causing crashes, like genuinely causing crashes, teleporting to X equals like 20 million for no reason and hiding in the void. Like, the detective has no hard feelings. The Moose, though, the Moose is. How did he become a main character, guys? What is this? What is this? I'm just sitting here and I'm like, all right, boys, we're gonna get some serious stuff done. And then this Moose just struts into the room. No, I'm not letting myself get distracted by a freaking Moose. No. We gotta fix the door script. That's what we're gonna do. The next thing I want to do is change it so that the door does something special if it's a specific kind of door, right? So like there's a door that we're gonna open up, and whenever we hit a certain key standing next to it, right? Like it will pick us to the next room. That's something we want. But there are also doors that are not the same way. I don't want to have to quote unquote open up the stairs in order to walk up them. I want to just be able to walk into them and trigger the transition. So let's give the script a capacity for that. We're going to create a Boolean or like a checkbox, I guess. Welcome in, Duo Bros. I don't know what the heck you said. I don't know why it got retracted. But, good to see you anyways. Good to see you. So we're going to create a private bool. All that this is going to do is say, door requires input. And we'll set this equal to true. And if the door requires input, then we do this. So basically, we'll say if the button was pressed, or we don't require input. Okay, cool. That's all taken care of. But yeah. After this, I think we have like all of the major overworld things done. Because we could walk around, we could explore, we could take a look at stuff, and everything makes sense positionally speaking. Which is a huge deal. So, okay, I have a really goofy idea for art. I swear, if it's about the Moose, I'm actually gonna... Oh my gosh, bro. I can't handle the stress. Alright, this is the... Let's take a look at this door. This one is connected to the stairs, so this is the one that we want to say does not require input. We're going to try that. Well, I don't know why the game view went like that. That's very random. We're going to throw it over here. Ideally, if we walk up these stairs, we'll automatically transition into the next room. Yes. That's exactly what we needed. I think the overworld is just finished now at this point. Except for, like, fun things that you could run into and interact with that are just funny, I guess. Like, I would like to have some things that you could just walk up to that look interesting and then, like, give them a little bit of flavor text, you know? That's, like, one of my favorite parts about RPG games is the flavor text. So we're going to get rid of that, too, and I'm going to get rid of this, too. The first door's point here. It will not require input. It's the Mace. Oh my gosh. We're gonna have to do something with this Moose character, that's for sure. Reluctantly, because I think it's that the character is just wild, to be honest. I originally it was just like I told Musical Papyrus like, hey dude, can you just make a enemy a very generic enemy? It doesn't have to be anything fancy. he was like, sure, dude. So he sends me in this moose, and I'm like, okay, cool. And a hop, skip, and a 20 streams later, oh my gosh, that thing is gonna haunt my nightmares, because it's like, I've had it, I don't know, apparently there's a lot of lore going, oh gosh, that's a problem. But yeah, that's a problem. So this doorway, we want to make sure that when the player walks in through here, he doesn't walk into the area where you could actually re-trigger the transition. We want to make sure that when he walks in, it takes him right in front of the door, so that way he could walk back. This is the first time watching your stream, and I'm a little confused about like the moose talk. Are you confused about why we're talking about mooses? Because I would be very confused as well. This streaming stuff has a little bit of lore going on that's very difficult to explain. When I first started developing this project, I was working on the combat system, right? If I just trigger it from here. And the moose, right? This default enemy right here, he was giving me all sorts of problems, right? So like, you see how he's standing right here so that you can actually fight him? Well, normally, back when I was first programming all this, the moose spawned all the way out here. So he wasn't even in the fight at the time when he was supposed to be in the fight. And so apparently the moose became Ultra Instinct, and then he had undodgeable attacks for a little while, which was a problem. And I got really annoyed with him because I was like, by all accounts, the moose should have been working. He should not have been causing problems like that. So me and him became arch nemesises for a period of time, and I committed a lot of violent acts against the moose, such as this. And yeah, that's where we're at right now. I don't know. That's the lore behind the moose, and I guess. And that's what you missed out on, and that's probably why you're confused there. But I don't know. I don't know, man. Also, canonically, this guy's a New Yorker, which is very random as well. I gave him a voice at one point during a stream, and I, for some reason, I went to like the gangster in New York, send him to sleep with the fishes kind of a thing, and it was a vibe, suffice it to say. So, yeah. Alright, so we fixed up all the doors. That's not a problem anymore. So now PETA is coming for your house. That would actually be insane. Oh my gosh. I think this warrants for a new emoji or two. Oh my gosh. But, alright guys, like we have everything finished for the overworld. I guess what that leaves is, well, we could do a few things from here. We could fix the combat system up, add a new enemy or two. That would be really cool. I could probably like show you guys what we're thinking for that as well. Because at this point we're kind of at a crossroads, right? I don't have to work on anything specific. We have a lot of things we can do though. So in the characters folder, enemies, we have a couple of goons here. This guy's name is Carl. Let me see if I can zoom in on him at all. And he's kind of like a goon for this big baddie that our detective is going to be fighting. And he's overconfident, let's just put it like that. And then we have, of course, the Daves. I don't know if they're actually going to show up in this first area. But it might be funny to give them attacks. And then we have other goons that work with Carl. These guys would probably be the first guys we work on if we work on enemy logic here. Another thing we can do is we can work on like items and that kind of stuff, and stuff to interact with inside of the manor. Maybe like keys and locks and doors and that kind of stuff. And I'm pretty able to do all of those. I just don't know what to start on. I don't know. when you get to a certain point in game development, it's not really about whether you know how to do something, because I could do most any of this. The only problem is like deciding what makes the most sense to tackle next. So I don't know. What are we up to, boys? Another thing I could do is I could build this as a prototype so that you guys could all try it. That's something that's very random. But if there are bugs and errors, y'all will be able to find it. If there's cool combat stuff or like money, that kind of stuff, whatever is here, you guys will be able to test essentially. That's something else that I could start during the stream, and then we could like do gaming or something while we're waiting for it to finish. Either way, I'm also gonna lock off some of the walls for areas that aren't actually finished. We're gonna save this right here, and we're gonna fix a couple of invisible walls here too. Blink, blink, blink. Or we could do cutscenes. Well, okay. This is a little bit of an oversight on my part. I really should have thought more about what we're going to be focusing on today. But I think that we're going to make some changes and then we're going to build a prototype. That's what the plan is. So the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of this moose, because now we're shifting gears from making stuff work to making a playable prototype for people to try out. So this moose, get rid of him. At this point in the game, I don't actually want anyone to like be fighting. This is like an introduction point, right? So the first thing I'm also going to do is I'm going to actually stop our music, get rid of that overlay here, because we are going to focus more on the game sounds. I don't know if we need to turn that down or not, but because now we're focusing on like the game itself instead of just the systems. So I'm also going to make sure that this is turned down slightly in OBS. We want to make sure I can still be heard over the audio. Think you don't like Moosin. They're fine whenever they're not actively trying to break my game. So, yeah. So just from a opening perspective here, we have our areas around here, and right now these rooms are kind of boring, to be honest. You could walk around them. I have an idea and it's mildly serious. I'm all ears. I'm always open to these ideas, especially stuff that can get our game like, especially stuff that can get this manor kind of like fixed up, ready for people to like grab items, explore different things, maybe also lore points, which it would be good to have some like things that you can explore on. I'm gonna go contact my the peeps. We're gonna go ahead and say, hey guys, can you send me some art for stuff that would be in the manor items, and also various decorations? I swear if I get doxxed over this, I'm gonna lose it. Okay, what if you added a radio thing which allows you to listen to unused music and stuff? Not a bad idea, because there's going to be plenty of unused music by the end of this project. Because I get plenty of ideas for stuff to use. Now you put it all into FL Studio or whatever, but as to how much of it is actually going to be used, I don't know. So we're going to go ahead and check our art actually, because whenever I need an idea for something to throw into the game, Musical Papyrus and Abs, they're great at just creating stuff to creating stuff to all right guys, if we get copyright stricken, then that'll be unfortunate, but I'm kind of tempted. I'm kind of tempted. Let's do that. Let's create a painting gallery. So that's going to be inside of the second casino. I'm going to restart the music. I'm realizing we're not doing much audio work. So it's not really worth it to turn it off. But we're going to create a painting gallery first off. That's where you can find a bunch of like various paintings that we've come up with, the artists at least. And that's going to be in the second floor here. And at this point, we're just going to decorate. But what? You ain't seen the half of it. So we're going to create some walls around here. And some walls here. And this is going to be where we put all of the paintings. And then on the floor, we're going to want to make sure that we have our tiles here. And I'm also thinking like we could add some carpet layered on top. And my moose art, the one with the blue background this second. You're talking about the prophecy or something else? Because I don't think I could add the well, then again, I'm already breaking copyright as it is. I don't know. Well, I'll think about it. But yeah, well, let's put the carpet in the middle because this is like kind of a walking gallery, I guess. All right, hold on. Is the volume too high here? I think the volume's too high. We're gonna turn it down slightly. Cool. The original. If you could DM it to me in the Discord, I could probably double check and just see like if that would be something that would work as a painting. I don't know. It'd be really funny to have a art gallery that's just like fan art, and we don't ever elaborate on it. Because all right, well, first off, we don't. The first thing that we're gonna do is not fan art because actually there's a couple of secrets in the paintings that we've already made that I'm not going to elaborate on. But maybe like we have another gallery that's less serious. I don't. Cool. So I'm gonna create a folder for all these paintings so I can keep track of where they actually are. And then I'm just going to drag this here, drag this here. And within paintings, I'm just gonna take all of the pictures that we're gonna possibly use for it and throw them into here. So where else are the paintings? Because I know that she had some. Here's some. These two. Moody Ocean and Forest. Okay. Oh, and we also have a coat rack. The Rogue Meeson Gallery. Maybe there could be like, hold on, you know how sometimes people will have like figurines of like animals, like dead animals stuffed like standing around in a, you know? What if the moose was in a gallery of stuffed animals, but it turned out that the moose was actually still alive and it goes and fights you for no reason? Because that makes sense for a manor to an extent. I don't know. Okay, and now we're gonna change some settings here to make sure that this works as pixel art. In Unity, you have to select point no filter in order for it to actually like filter well. I don't know. And then we're gonna have to make sure that the floor tiles work correctly. There we go. I'm gonna get rid of some invisible walls. Because I'm realizing we don't need those. DM'd, okay. That would actually be really funny. Hold on. Uh, could you send it to me as a PNG? Like just a normally sized PNG. That could be like a really funny painting to have to just like totally throw off the entire vibe of the manor. I don't know. Like, just have serious painting. All right, we're just gonna double check and make sure everyone knows. Brief disconnection. Getting back on now. Exclamation point. Cool. And then get off of that. Okay. So now we have these guys. And I kind of feel like maybe we can have like implied spotlights around here. Also, for everyone who's hopping back on, sorry about that. OBS had a brief issue. It disconnected for a time, so we're back in though. So you guys should be able to re-access. All right. So we have a few paintings there. I'm also going to create a few lights. And these will be like implied lamps. I can't really show the lamps without breaking immersion, but it should still work. So we're going to throw out this light here. And we're going to make it so that the range is a little bit larger around the edges. All right, brief disconnection, getting back on now. Cool, everything's all good. Now we're gonna want this like kind of like ceiling light to like shine a certain color, something like, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I did it, I think. All right, I'll check in just a second. And I'm also gonna move the camera target a little bit. Let's see. Where are you, camera target? There you are. And I feel like this light could even be a little bit bigger. Okay, that looks good. What color? I think we'll do that. Then we'll move it over by 2 units, maybe? No, 5 units. No, 4 units. 3 units. 4, 5, 6, 5 units. All right, plus 5. And plus 5. Cool. This will be the painting hall. And maybe we'll like also change the wall design to look different. Probably. All right. Next thing, this is kind of like a head nod towards the RPG genre in general. We should be able to interact with these guys. So I'm going to create a dialogue zone. And it's already giving me a ton of errors since I have to set up a bit. But no, we're also going to add a box collider 2D. Or like an interaction range. And we're going to set it to be a trigger. A rigid body 2D. All of this. And all of this is not actually so that it will be like a physics object. We want this to like have dialogue associated with it that the player can trigger. And we're going to use the interact button. And we're going to set a dialogue sequence. So we actually have to set something up. And this painting, like, it's just like a waving ocean. So, like, what's the best way to describe that in a way that's a little bit witty? And I don't know. We could just improv something, I guess. I'm going to head over to the dialogue section. And I'm going to create a folder, call it manner. So that way I can separate the manner dialogue. And I'm going to create another folder and call it paintings. Open that. And then we're going to create, within this paintings folder, a scriptable object dialogue sequence. and we're gonna call it Raging Sea. And then we get to like come up with all the lines. So no one's really speaking for this. It's a train of thought. And maybe let's just have it say something like, even looking at this painting for too long makes you feel seasick. Okay. Although maybe we like add an intro. It's a painting, acrylic painting of a raging sea. Cool. And then we're just gonna drag that into the right here. Although it's described in the name that Ab set together as a what did she call it? Moody Ocean. So let's use that. Yeah, even looking still works. All right, so ideally, if I walk up to it, it's going to trigger some dialogue. And this is the same core that we're going to use to let the player interact with anything else. Yeah. All right. Good seeing you, the cat. Have a good rest of your day. Now we're just going to copy and paste the same scripts over to the other painting. Or even better, we're just going to get rid of these paintings and copy the same painting over. So if we take this, copy paste, we're going to add +1, 2. I feel like 2. And then we go into art and we're going to change the actual picture. So take paintings, painting 2. Very random that this would be closed. Put this here. Forest. So and then we're just going to name this the forest painting. And then, of course, we're going to have to create a new dialogue for the forest. And I kind of want to put a pun or something in here. It's a painting of a forest. What can we tie this to? I don't know. Uh, I want to put something else in here because I feel like that's a little too straightforward. Hmm. No, it kind of looks like one of my old projects. Nah, never mind. um, I'm not exactly sure. I feel like I don't know what dialogue would represent this painting the best. I'll leave this for now. We can come up with something later. And then we're going to duplicate this one more time. Put it over here. And then we're going to give it our final painting. And of course, we're going to make this a little too self-conscious. Going into the dialogue sequence area, we're going to... This is not going to make it into the final game. I hope you all know this, but I don't know. This is just for fun. We're going to create a dialogue sequence. Peak painting. And then we're going to name it... What in the world? All right. I'm having a little bit of problems here. For some reason, the music credits are definitely not working. I'm a little concerned. Okay. I guess the stream is not currently working because our ping is ridiculously high. I'm just gonna keep on going. If you guys want any credits for this music, it's all a part of Game Chops, really cool music providers. They do a bunch of like lo-fi, jazz, random covers of game music that I really enjoy. So yeah. So we're gonna make this painting say something along the lines of it's a painting of a strange purple man. No, that turns into a FNAF reference. Strange child pointing at a mountain. It really is quite peak. Yeah, no, that's not making it into the final version at all. And a final thing, I'm going to take these and we're gonna put them kind of like a little ways away, +2. And I'm going to create like points on the wall where paintings are implied. Man, what in the world, man? Waiting for playback? It's playing back right now. I don't know what to tell you. I'm gonna refresh this and honestly, I'm just gonna turn it off for now. Um, all music credit goes to Game Chops, and hopefully this credits overlay will start working soon, so that way I don't get in trouble. But we're gonna turn this into 18, and I don't actually want it to show this dialogue, so we're gonna create like kind of a filler dialogue that shows when the painting isn't actually added yet. The painting's meant to be here. Strange. And then we're going to set that to fast. And then I'm just going to copy paste 10.5, 12.5, 14.5. I actually feel like we should add one more on top of this. And we're going to create another one of these. And there is a problem. These are supposed to be on a 0.5, so we're going to subtract 0.5 from this. And these filler holes are just going to spread across the rest. We'll leave that there. Cool. And if I go into the game view, we now have a painting hall. It's an acrylic painting of a moody ocean. Even looking at this painting for too long makes you feel seasick. Acrylic painting of a moody ocean. That is clearly false. We need to change that. So in the forest painting, we're going to replace the active dialogue with forest. And this is going to be peak painting. And this is filler dialogue, filler dialogue, filler dialogue. That's exactly what we want. And then we're going to go into full screen one more time. And now the dialogue should work. All right, and then afterwards there should be like kind of a entryway into like a new room where the game starts because I feel like these paintings are kind of like again I said that they had a secret to them. Eventually they will. This peak painting is very much just supposed to be a filler. But next we're gonna head into the scenes and go back to the original floor. And we're gonna give this place a coat rack, which by the way, I'm also getting rid of these paintings now that we have them upstairs. Instead, I'm gonna use candles to fill in the empty space. And then we're gonna set it to 0.5 and negative 1.5. Cool, and then I'm gonna take another one of these, put them between here, and good. Welcome back, the cat. Good to have you. We're just working on a little bit of stuff with the manor. And by default, it puts us here since I didn't actually come from any like other points in the building. So also check the thing that I posted in share your stuff. I don't know if I want to. This might be traumatizing. All right, and cool. Now we have all of this here. If we go into that room, I feel like that should be like a locked door almost. Because that looks like it would be in the position of a locked door. And then up here we have our paintings. I do feel like I want to change something though with the paintings so that way we can actually see them as we're going through the dialogue. We're gonna set the transform for this to self. Because we want to be able to see the painting that is actually being talked about during the dialogue. Okay, that's done. Perfect. Nah, the trauma it could have give already was. Fair. Fair. I'll take a look shortly, but let's see here. I also don't feel like the lights would be on here. So the vibe of this manor is supposed to be like something that's very sketchy. And like clearly there's a little bit going on that you're not aware of. So anything that's more mysterious would work. So maybe less light and even like a candle that's not burning could be really cool. Cool. The peak one, yeah. That's not gonna make it into the final game, not at all. This was a joke picture that one of my friends. So, you know, Abs, she's one of our artists. I told her that one of her paintings was totally peak. I think it was this one. And when I said it was a peak painting, she responded in message with this. And I don't think that it was meant to be put in the game, but I'm not asking for permission. I'm the programmer. I get to do what I want. So, yeah, that's how we got that. But yeah, do we have doors? Okay, here's the thing. So, from a level design perspective, right? Not much is going on here. You can look at stuff, you can see certain stuff. What if there was a locked door somewhere where you had to fight someone for the key? Uh, like, I don't know if the door lock would go here or if it would go somewhere up here. Or maybe even like block off the doorway. It would probably block off the doorway. But yeah, yeah, how would that work even? I'm kind of thinking about it. So like the goal of this first area is to kind of like introduce the game a little bit, introduce the main character, introduce the combat, introduce the items, introduce the vibe. So at some point I want people to fight in order to get an item, which they can then use to get to a new location, right? Like just very simple stuff. What if the moose is the fight that you have to finish in order to get through to these stairs, which then leads to the next area? I think that kind of makes sense. And at this point, we discover paintings, which probably have secrets beyond just being a total meme. And then at the end of this door, we run into a couple of goons. Yeah, I like that. We're going to do that. So I'm going to head to this manor floor here, and we're going to actually set up the next room. My theory is that the strange child is the protagonist's grandpa who explored the world and eventually became the eggplant guy from Kid Icarus. Reasonable, reasonable. I could see it. I could. I don't know, man. Whatever boats your float, my dude. Whatever boats your float. I would not know. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 pixels wide. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 pixels wide. And then we just stack it up right up here. Although the catch is that we're going to actually want a wall to look like this. There we go. And we'll put it up here. It's canonical then? No, no. Look, if you want to know what the canon of Peak is, you should ask the Peak developers. Look, the only canon I'm capable of making it is actually I don't even know. I had look, there's a canon going on here. I just am not at the liberty to dispose it to you guys right now. So I'm not actually able to tell. But it is not canonical as far as my knowledge goes. All right, another thing that I'm going to want is a camera zoom zone. We're going to throw that over into this area. Where are you, camera zoom zone 1? There you are. And this camera zoom zone here is kind of like set to there. I want the entry point to kind of be like halfway there. And we're going to go ahead and walk into the new room, see what that looks like. I kind of like this because if the enemies are here, it looks like you're kind of walking in on them. I love the changing the canon of a game without nothing out yet. Man, I don't get paid enough for this. I don't get paid anything. Just kidding. Yeah. Honestly, though, the moose cannon is going to be interesting to introduce. All right, and then we're going to add some more floor tiles here because this is going to probably lead into a new area somewhere. All right, we're back in. Sorry about that, guys. We got disconnected briefly. For some reason, OBS is giving us more problems right now than we need. What in the world? That's crazy. Okay, I think that everything's working again. Chat, can we confirm? Sorry that we have a few problems going on right now. I'm just like not exactly sure what's going on with OBS right now that's making it do this. But I don't know. Either we have to get better Wi-Fi on my end or I'll have to start making videos, which I was actually thinking about it. Making videos could be really funny. But I'm going to go ahead and introduce our first main enemy, Carl. This Carl man, right? He's what the first like kind of like mini boss that you fight, I guess. And he teaches you kind of like how to dodge, I guess is the best way of putting it. Because his attacks are great if he lands them, but he's also like a klutz, so he could miss pretty easily. I just need to find where we're putting that. So we're going to go into assets, our characters. And we're going to go enemies. Do I have him yet? No, I don't have him. We're going to put Carl into here. And not Carl into there too. Oh, true. True. What's the exact quote? Listen, Mac, dodge his punch, then counter punch. That's pretty much exactly what's going on here. Exactly what's going on here. But yeah, we're gonna set up Carl and his goons to be kind of like standing out here, looking all cool, ready to beat up our main protagonist. Although, first off, I'm going to need to make sure that we actually set up the import settings I'm realizing. Let's do that. So inside of the inspector, I need to make sure that's set to 32 pixels per unit because that's exactly what the sprite is. We're going to apply all those settings. And yeah. Carl's going to be standing on the floor over here. We're going to want to flip it X so that he could face the player. And I'm also going to mess around here so that we can get the floor visible again for some reason. And when it comes to Carl, he's also going to have a couple of support peeps on his side. And this is the goon, not Carl. And they're not nearly as interesting as Carl, to be honest. Carl is the man with the hat. I mean, they have hats too, but they're just not as cool, to be honest. And so we throw him into there. And we're also going to make them face away. Maybe like both, maybe one of the goons could actually be looking away from the hero when he walks in. That could be really funny. And then Carl gets mad at him and tells the one guy to look around. That could be really funny. Hold on. First, I need to actually be able to put this guy in, though. Okay, so we're going to have one goon here who faces the player, and then another not Carl who faces away. Even funnier, what if he's looking at a painting? That could be really funny. What you should add in Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, but instead with your characters and call it Merle Tymmingston's Merle Tymmingston? Where did that come from? Oh my gosh. That's actually hilarious. Oh my gosh. You know what? Oh my gosh, you know what they need? They need a pool table. Oh my gosh, they need a pool table. Boys, we're making a pool table. We're making a pool table, everyone. We're doing it. It would be so funny if they were just playing pool while they were waiting for the main protagonist. And he walks in, and then they're like, "Oh wait, we were hired to fight you or something." That would be so peak. Oh my gosh. So I'm gonna create a new layer here because now we're designing a pool table. And this needs to be extremely simple. Like, again, I'm not a primary artist, so if I design up an asset, it really all it is just a placeholder until the actual artists could come in and take care of it. So we'll put that there. And I'm also going to recolor. We want this to actually be like, kind of like this. Actually, maybe we like do this. Yeah. We want to have it like green and then pockets in the corners. And then we take this here, put it approximately in the center. And I'm also going to just draw this into here so I can kind of see where the next pocket should go. All right, and also we're going to have to move this over a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Because we don't want it to be locked into the wrong position. Also, make the boss in MS Paint. I actually just got MS Paint on my iPad. I usually use Procreate for my digital art, but wanted to try something new. So we'll see how that goes. I don't know. So I'm a loyalist as far as Procreate goes, but always down to try something new. So we're gonna throw this up here. And then see the problem here is that we're using such a similar color to the floor. So we might run the risk of, but then again, all we have to do to fix that really is outline it. So let's do that. 1, 2, 1, 2, and then run O, or Shift O, I should say. But before I do that, we're actually gonna create we're gonna highlight this, and I'm gonna use symmetry here, so I don't want to have to redesign everything on both sides. Put that there. I don't know exactly how the legs are supposed to look. I'm just kind of improvising at this point. That looks a little bit wrong. We're gonna actually put this like here. Yeah. Yeah. And now we're gonna highlight the, get rid of this side. And then I also feel like the legs are a little too. Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. And I'm also gonna make this, extend this a little bit. And we're gonna get this placed. I kind of want to highlight that this is like somewhat of a top view. So we're gonna do this. And that's okay. I'm not like crazy with this design so far. But again, doesn't have to be perfect, just has to work. I'm also realizing this is supposed to be anchored correctly. Let's take care of that. Okay. Now, what else do we need? We need balls. And we want the colors to contrast enough that it doesn't look bad. Yeah. And then, of course, like with the solid balls, they're going to have like a circle in the middle like this. And with striped, they're going to have a stripe down the middle. Yeah. Yeah. And also like kind of like a shadow underneath. So we're going to go ahead and select this. Go down a shade. Shadow. There we go. Although I also think that we could get this hole to look slightly better. Because right now it looks just like kind of like another ball. So we're going to highlight this. Yeah, I don't like that either. And why in the world is this here? This is supposed to be one over. All right, and then we're going to color here. Okay, Spamton, I stole his. Whose chocolate are you? Why are you talking about chocolate? I have no idea what is going on, my good sir. This is random. Okay, like this. I do feel like this isn't actually going to need any extra shadows. Sigh. I'm just confused, dude. I'm as bored as the moon is made out of cheese. I lack context. I require context. All right, and what else? I think that we can take this here. Yeah. Kara and Spamton are arguing over chocolate. That would be something. I don't even know if they canonically could meet though, because Kara is she's a character from Undertale fairly specifically, whereas Spamton is Deltarune. Okay, now we're gonna outline and do some more outlining. There it is. Perfect. For now, at least. We're gonna export. Well, actually, first off, I'm gonna merge down, I should say. And we're gonna export this layer specifically. File. Export as area, canvas, visible layers, selected layers, I should say. We're going to put it into the Dropbox. All right, inside of Unity now. I mean, it's possible that Chris is Kara. Oh my gosh. But yeah, I guess there's a lore point that can be made for that. I wouldn't see it as much because Kara has a lot more personality than Chris, at least at this point. Chris is very blank slated, whereas Kara has very clear motivations throughout Undertale. But no, I refuse to do spoilers when I'm on stream, though. It's not gonna happen. We're not gonna worry about it. No spoilers. And then I believe that we're looking at tiles. Where do we actually export that? That's kind of important to know now that I think about it. Oh, really? Laughing face. I don't know, man. I'm just saying. Selection. I said selection, not canvas. There we go. And we're going to rename this from stair tile to pool table. Okay. Cool, we found it. So now we throw that in there. Or maybe I should put it. All right, this should work. Now we put the pool table inside of the art like usual and throw it into manner. And this should be really simple to set up, actually, I think. Also have to leave in a bit. No worries, good to have you, dude. And we're going to go ahead and take a look inside of our manner right here, inside the pool table, and we're going to set our pixels per unit to 32 again. Filter mode, point, no filter, no compression. And immediately it should resize to the normal size of a pool table. Good. Now I'm going to go set this up here. So I feel like these guys were probably playing pool before the main character came in. And we're going to give this guy a rigid body to D in a bit. Okay, cool. That works. And we're going to also add a box collider. So in other words, I'm just making it so that you can run into this object as the player. I love causing your brain to melt. Unfortunately, you're very good at it. And I feel like maybe the collider goes here. Bye. Good seeing you, the cat. Always good to have you on stream. All right, so we're just going to take a look at the table, see if it's functionally what we're looking for. Oh man, I love this song. Which, by the way, I've been going a long time without the Spotify Now playing on. I'm a little concerned. Again, all this music is provided by Game Chops. This song is Dire Dire Docs Lo-Fi by Super Lo-Fi 64. The entire playlist is available. There's a lot of Mikhail, Coffee Date, the Deku Trio, Coffee Date again. C418 is also here, so is VGR, Toby Fox, like Joe Kabi. All of these are really cool creators. The crediting system is not working, unfortunately. But can't stress enough. These are really cool creators who make really cool music, and yeah, if you enjoy listening to it as we're on stream here, please check them out. All right, and now we have this room just about ready. Okay, that looks wrong. The player should not actually be able to walk up that high onto the table. I also feel like these guys should have like a bobbing animation where they go up, down, up, down, up, down, kind of like, like really comically cartoonish kind of a thing. I don't know. That could be really funny. Okay, now we're going to try one more time with that. And then right after the serious scene, you walk into the room and there's a bunch of goons waiting to attack you. But of course, in order to get that to work, we're going to have to come up with a solution for cutscenes, which is going to be interesting. So, how are we going to do that, you might ask? Good question, I respond. I have no idea, but we are going to piece it together. So, the first thing that's going to have to happen for a cutscene is that we're going to have to change the game state into something where the player doesn't have direct control over his character, or her character, depending on who's playing, and where the dialogue is easily accessible, and where certain animations are required. So, as far as what we're going to do with that, I think the first thing that we're going to need to do is create a zone that triggers a cutscene. Which will probably be right here. Man, I kind of want to use my whiteboard for this, but don't have a camera, so that would be a little bit of a waste. We might just go back to Ace Bright again, because I've so far, most of the time we use Ace Bright to piece together how to do things that don't make sense at first. So let's do that. We're going to go over here. We're going to multiply this by 12, multiply this by 8, and here's our workspace. So when it comes to cutscenes, we need control over animators. I'm just going to use text to jot down thoughts. So we need control over animators. Is there no way for me to just press enter? Aye. Yeah, no, I guess there isn't, so never mind. But it's not going to work. We need control over the animators of the actors in the scene. Okay, so that's like these guys here, the goons. And as far as... yeah, I don't know. As far as what else we're going to be doing with that, we're also going to need camera control. And we're also going to need positional control of various actors in the scene. So all of that could be done from various points in here. Do we need a timeline? I feel like that's a better question to ask, because with the timeline interacting with the dialogue, that's more important, I think, as far as development than creating the actual zone because we have a way of changing the game state. What we don't have is we don't have a timeline set up. So in Unity, a timeline is like a cutscene manager that kind of like plays through animations and whatever. But what we're gonna want is we're gonna want to create a special kind of timeline that plays and then shows some dialogue, pauses, waits until the dialogue is finished, plays again. How are we gonna do that? I think the first thing that we need to do is actually create a cutscene manager. And as far as how this thing is going to work, well, it's going to be triggered from a game state, and it's going to play a certain cutscene. So, with this cutscene, what we want these guys to do, when the player walks in, the goons are going to be like all yapping about like, "Hey, he's here. The boss told us he'd come," that kind of a thing, and then the chat. Carl is going to get really mad at this guy right here who's facing the opposite direction as where the player is standing. And yeah, it's just kind of going to emphasize the fact that these guys are klutzes, really, that they're not as scary as you would think. And then afterwards, uh, the fight starts, right? So what this is going to entail is control over the dialogue and playing of a timeline. But are we playing one timeline or are we playing multiple? Is the question. In order to answer that, I kind of want to just thinking through this. Let's just start coding really quick, I guess. We're gonna do cutscene manager as our script name. And as far as making it work, we're gonna put this inside of scripts, inside of managers. Save it. And then we're going to open it whenever it's ready. So let's just like comment this out, right? So what is this gonna do? It's going to be able to trigger a cutscene, and within this cutscene, there's gonna be breakpoints. And I feel like this is something that's external to the manager. We need to figure out a way to insert points where that aren't necessarily related to the cutscene, that are related to dialogue. So let's see if we can do that with timelines. A custom, we're gonna get rid of this. How to add a custom come on, let me think. Timeline Unity. This process allows the timeline to execute unique logic, such as updating UI text or controlling custom gameplay variables. So it says that there's a way to do it with playable. So, but OBS is giving us some problems right now, and we've been going for 78 minutes. So I think that we're gonna cut it off and just next time plan on addressing more of this timeline stuff. But yeah, it's been a good development day, but also a long one. I'm hoping that this stuff starts coming together more. I don't know. We have a lot of good stuff going though. So thank you guys for dropping in. If you enjoy this, please consider subscribing to the channel, supporting me on Patreon, all of that good stuff, so we can keep on doing what we love doing. And yeah.